All right, welcome to our student athletes from Texas. As a reference for those in the room and on Zoom, on the far side left on your screen, for those on Zoom, Deanna Gaston, Shay Hawley, Rory Harmon, Joanna Allen Taylor, and Lauren Ebo. A couple reminders as well, if we can silence all our cell phones. Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get the mics to you. If you can say your name and media affiliation as well. So with that, we'll open up to questions in the room for our student athletes. Go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get you a microphone. And again, please address who you'd like the question to be, especially with 5 up here. That'd be helpful.
Lindsay Schnell, USA Today. Rory, this is for you. When you guys played Stanford in November, you torched them for 21 points. I wondered, did you expect that? At any point during the game, were you looking around thinking, wow, I'm killing the national champ right now? And then why do you think you've been able to adjust? Because obviously you've been consistent. You were the Big 12 freshman of the year. Why do you think you've been able to adjust so well to college basketball?
To answer your first question, I would say it did appear to me that, wow, like, we are doing pretty good against the defending national champs. But, no, I have learned a lot this year, especially with just being a point guard under Coach Schaefer. It's a bit challenging, but just doing what he says, doing what I got to do, limiting turnovers. With our run right now, that's all we got to stay with, so.
We'll take care of that, don't worry. Go ahead.
Danny Davis, Austin American Statesman. This question's for Deanna and Shay. Last year, obviously, Dee, you were hurt, and Shay, you played limited minutes. But what did you learn kind of from the sideline about this tournament experience, watching their run through the Elite Eight?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot different just because we were sort of the underdog. Last year, no one really thought we would get that far. And with COVID and everything, it was just such a different experience. So this year has been a lot of fun. I mean, having fans is just, it adds so much more to the game. And then obviously actually being on the court has added a lot of fun too. But yeah, I think last year just watching how hard our team played and like making all of the effort plays, getting all the 50-50 balls, like that's what got us to the Elite Eight. So I think just making sure that we continue that in addition to the added talent we have this year.
That's yeah, a couple. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've been struggling with a whole bunch of like injuries, and like just to come back and play, it means a lot, and it means to me that like for my teammates to play for them and like play, just to play under the team, like, and just to play hard. Sorry, I'm pretty nervous. Sorry.
Don't be nervous. It's all friendly here.
I know.
AJ McCord, Coin TV out of Portland. Rory, this question is for you. So I don't know how much you guys got to stick around and watch the game last night, but it was very clear with Lexi and Lacey being Spokane natives. There's a lot of people in this arena who are going to be rooting for Stanford tomorrow. How much do you guys thrive, though, on sort of being the team that, okay, fine, we don't have to have the home court advantage because you obviously didn't need it earlier in the season?
It's happened a lot this year, like several times. We kind of almost came to the point that we were more focused when we were away. It happened against, what was it, A&M, Stanford, anybody know? Tennessee. I mean, we played pretty well, but, you know, we didn't win that one. But, yeah, it's just a lot of focus coming to away games. And that's what we're used to, so we're ready.
Go ahead, Dave.
Dave Nichols from Spokesman Review. Lauren, every time Stanford picks up another foul, they just bring another 6'4", 6'2" off the bench. How do you prepare mentally for that?
I think using our physicality, and whether it's not, scoring in the post, just using us to kick out to the guards and open things up for the guards. But I think just being physical, making sure we box them out. Last night they had a lot of offensive rebounds. So just boxing them out and doing whatever we need to do as post players in the paint to open things up for ourselves and then also for the rest of the team.
Great, go ahead.
Roger Wallace, NBC, Austin. Joe, the excitement of advancing and the thrill of last night's win, how do you, enjoy that, savor it, but realize that, you're one step away and refocus for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we've kind of gotten to this mindset kind of late, just with the championship we did win in the tournament a couple weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. Like, we just take one game at a time, and although we celebrate when it's time to celebrate, we know when it's time to move on, because we're on a mission right now, and the mission is not done. So.
Good.
Lindsay from USA Today again. Rory, this is kind of off the wall, but I have some friends that live here and were at the game last night, and their little 3-year-old had a lot of fun cheering for Rory with the orange hair. And it made me wonder, do you dye your hair to be Texas colors, essentially? Or is that your natural look?
No, I've actually been, this is not my natural look. I have black hair, but that's not the reason why I dyed my hair this color. I've been wanting to dye it for a minute. Even in high school, I just was too nervous to. Like, I was a little too scared because I like to take care of my hair, but no, that's not the reason. I just like this color in my skin tone.
Go ahead, question on this side.
Chantal Jennings with The Athletic. Question is for Lauren and Joe. Right here to your right. We get to see Rory on the floor. She's going 100 miles an hour. She's really intense, but I'm curious for both of you, how do you describe her off the court?
Go.
Oh, okay. Off the court, she's pretty quiet, honestly. Like, she's not as hype as you see her on the court, but everybody's fun to get along with, and just her being a freshman, like, it's fun to mess with her, tease her like a little bit, but she's for the most part pretty quiet. She can be funny at times, but yeah.
I would say the same thing. She's pretty chill and relaxed,
Craig Way, Longhorn Radio Network. For Joe and Rory, have you noticed that much difference? The first Stanford game was 4.5 months ago. So, I mean, from what you look at them on tape now, is it that much different in what they're doing, or how, other than the fact that clearly they're playing better than that on that day back on November 14th? But have you noticed that much different in how they go?
Yeah, I would say they're playing way harder. They look more sound as a team, and then a couple of players are stepping up and they're more aggressive on their team. So they are a whole different team than we saw a couple months back. So.
Yes, I agree with what Joe just said.
AJ McCord, following up on Rory's answer to the question of how you guys are ready for a hostile environment in some respects tomorrow, how do you thrive on that as a team? Like, what is it about a hostile environment that makes you guys sort of stay more focused, or whatever it is that makes you guys thrive in that? Lauren or anybody who wants to answer that one?
Okay. I just think any environment we love, like Shay and I talk about this all the time, just having, like, sure, let us walk out the tunnel and y'all boo us. Like, we eat that up. Like, we love it. Like, we eat it. We eat it up. But no, seriously, like, we love that. We love that hostile environment. I feel like it motivates us even more to play harder, play better, and do it, really come together and play together as a team.
I think that's what it highlights when they do boo us, when we do come out the tunnel. It kind of highlights that we are coming together. Like, we need to stay within each other and focus on each other, and none of the outside noise, of course. So.
We love the opportunity to silence a crowd.
Yes, that's what it is. Love
that. Question in the back.
Kevin Pelton, ESPN.com. Direct this to Joe, but if anyone else has thoughts, Rory talked about the feeling during that game against Stanford, but I assume you watched the tape of that this morning. What kind of stood out looking back on that performance?
I think we just played really hard. We out-toughed them in some plays, but then we looked back and we saw, like, we did have, like, a couple mistakes that we can get exposed, like, tomorrow if we're not focused, because they shot a lot of threes, they just missed them, and we had to really be sound defensively, and we have to finish the defensive possession with the box out, because they do come crashing really hard. So that's what we really saw on film.
Rory, do you want to react to this nickname and tell us your thoughts on this nickname we didn't know existed?
Like Joe said, I am a pretty chill person, so with the nickname Fetus, it started like such a long time ago, and I actually remember, like, when they were coming up with a nickname for me, like, and but I mean, like, when they say it, it's almost like it just comes out of their mouth, like, easily and naturally, and I'm like turning my head and responding. It really doesn't bother me. It's almost like a compliment in a way. They must think I'm pretty cute or whatever. So.
And then Shay, I mean, in reality, there probably could be like 3 more of you up here talking about this team just because of how deep you guys are. How much does that depth help this team, and what are y'all's practices like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we're in the position we are, is because we have so much depth. Like, I could be up here, Audrey could be up here, Lee could be up here, like anyone could be in this position. And I mean, it's just like I have trust in them too. Like, it's so nice being on the court. Obviously, I'm gonna try to have my best game, play my best game. But if not, like, I know there's people that can come in and like they won't miss a beat. So I think that's with like almost every position, which is so nice to have. Which is also, it makes it fun because we get to celebrate each other, and you just know if you're not making a shot, someone else will, or someone will have your back. So I think that is a really like special part of this team.
Question, Pro?
Joanne, earlier in the season, you guys lost 3 in a row. You haven't lost since. Was there something that somebody said or somebody did, or just a switch go on to say, hey, look, we're not going to lose again?
I don't know if it was that. We just kind of put our heads down and just like really locked in onto our mistakes. Like, we were turning over the ball so much in those 3 losses. Like, we weren't sound defensively. And I think I wouldn't say we came together and said like, oh, we need to stop losing. Like, nobody likes to lose. Everybody plays to win at the end of the day. But I think we just really locked into our mistakes. We were in close games and we were turning over the ball so much. So like, what if we take care of these small mistakes? Like, what can happen if we capitalize on, like on what we're messing up so much on? Like, we can be a really good team, and that's just what propelled us to what we are right now. So.
Let's take one quick question on Zoom, and then we'll come back to the room. Terry Middleton, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, good afternoon. Terry Middleton from Horns Illustrated. This question is for Joanne and Lauren. As you studied Stanford for this game, have you identified any of their weaknesses that you didn't know about before?
Well, they're a much better team than what we saw 4 months ago. I don't know. It's really the coach's job to bring that to us, and we just go out there and execute the game plan. That's all I'm focused on, playing my best basketball. I think at the end of the day, they're a really good team. They have great size, so they don't have a lot of weaknesses to me. So.
Yeah, I mean, just going off of Joe, we're focused on what they can do and how to stop that and how we can score, how we can be effective. So I think that's our game plan going forward, not necessarily harp it. I love that. No, just focusing on like our game plan and what we need to do to stop them.
We have time for 2 more questions in the room. We'll start here.
Natalie Weiner, New York Times. This question is for Joanne and Rory. There is a lot of talk about like Stanford's depth, Stanford's size, how they have this roster where everybody can come in and do stuff. Who are the maybe 1 or 2 people on your roster who you think don't get very much attention at all, who could really make a huge difference in this game?
I think we saw it in the first game when Lee came in the 4th quarter and had 17 points, I feel like she doesn't get a lot of attention just because she doesn't really start, but man, she can come off the bench and drop probably 30. Honestly, she's that type of player to me. So.
I was thinking the same person. It's been a pretty long season. I feel like there's not enough attention for her. So.
And one final question here.
Any of you can answer this. I wondered if there was another team maybe in the Big 12 that reminds you of Stanford in terms of their length. No? You seem pretty adamant.
No.
All right, well, thank you very much to our student athletes. You all can be excused.
Thank you.
All right, welcome to Coach Schaefer from Texas. We'll start with an opening statement, and then we'll take questions starting in the room and then going to Zoom. Coach?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate y'all being here. We're obviously, I'm awfully proud of our kids and how they played last night against a really good Ohio State team. Said it again last night that Kevin, I mean, they're the Big Ten champions, and for us to go toe-to-toe with them last night and come out with a win in a really tough ball game, I'm really proud of our kids. They just continue to work and fight and compete, and I don't think you can, you can't question their competitive spirit. We talk about that and the importance of that a lot, and that really separates teams in my mind over the course of my career, is those teams that just have that competitive spirit, and this group obviously has that, and they're a great group of kids, and they're representing the University of Texas in a real positive way, and I couldn't be more proud of them. So we got our hands full tomorrow night, obviously, playing the number 2 team in the country, and a team that's might be the only team that's won more games in a row than we have right now. I think they've won 23 or 24 in a row, and obviously playing at a very high level. So much respect and admiration for that program, for Coach Vanderveer and everything she's done for our game. I mean, she's, you talk about her and Coach Conrad and coaches like that. Those are people that, y'all, we wouldn't even be sitting here today if it wasn't for what they did back when this all started. And for a guy like me, there's a real appreciation for that. And unfortunately, in today's world, y'all, we have a lot of young people that they don't have that same, they just don't think the same way. And they don't really know the history of our game either. So, but I certainly do. And, again, Stanford, as in most years, they're right there knocking on the door. And we're gonna have to play really well tomorrow night. But obviously, we played them earlier in the year, and we were able to go in there and our kids played really special that night, and we're real tough. So we're gonna have to have the same energy and effort. I think it's fair to say they're better, but so are we. And so we're excited about the opportunity, and we're back here again at it a year later with a group that really epitomizes Texas fight. And that's not a slogan or a saying that we just throw around. It's something that we really embrace and hold in high regard at the University of Texas. And if your teams don't have that, that ain't good from where we're at. So you got to have that at Texas, and I think our kids have proven that you got to have that, so, that they have that. So I'm proud of them.
Excellent. We'll open up to questions down the room. Lindsay, go ahead. Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get you a microphone.
Hey, Vic. Lindsay Schnell from USA Today. First of all, we just learned when your players were in here that because Rory is the baby of the group, they call her Fetus. I wondered if you knew that that was her nickname and if you have a reaction to that. But the more important question is, you said the other day, you knew how special she was because of her motor. But for her to go in just her second or third game of the season and take it to the defending champs, torch them for 21 points, was there any point that you were in that game thinking, damn, this girl's pretty good that I recruited?
Well, to answer the question on the nickname, I don't think that's real appropriate. I would hope y'all wouldn't print that, but that's something that they do in the locker room. I just, she's young and everybody, we probably could get a nickname for everybody in the room if we wanted to. Some might be worse than that one or better. But, she's young, and I think all those freshmen are really doing a great job, and they're a big part of our success. And, she's proven it throughout the course of the season. Obviously she's got a tremendous skill set, and we've talked about that, y'all, but what separates her is the motor. A lot of people have skill sets and don't have a motor. And that's the thing, that if you're going to play at the University of Texas, it's hard to play for us if you don't have a motor. And so I think that's where she really separates herself, really from a lot of people across the country, is how hard she plays. And so in that game, we we went in and we talked about some things that we felt like she could do, and as we did with a lot of our players. And that moment wasn't too big for her at a really early stage in her career, and she's proven it many times since that she's mature beyond her years. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with not just her skill set, but her motor. And that's what you get every day, y'all. I told y'all, in practice, you're going to get that same motor every day.
Question in the back.
Vic Tim Booth from the Associated Press. One game in November doesn't define an entire season, but when it's that early, when you have a new group, what did that experience and pulling out that victory do for that group that was just sort of learning to play with each other at that time?
Sure. I think it showed that group early on that they could play with, anyone in the country. I think when you play a team like that on a night like they had, they were passing out their national championship rings that night. And, it was a real emotional day and night for them. And so I think for our kids, just the toughness factor going in there and playing on their home floor and playing the defending national champions. And I think that gave our kids some confidence early on. And quite frankly, it probably created some expectation for this group that might not have been real fair at the time just because of our youth. And we have 9 new players. We have 1 starter back. I'd venture to say there's nobody in this round right now that's got that. Audrey, you can throw her in there maybe as a starter at times a year ago, but there was also times when she couldn't even walk in the gym and practice for weeks on weeks. So I just think it at the time, it was certainly a great win for our kids and for our program, and it gave us some confidence, but it also created an expectation that, hey, if this is who we are, then we've got to learn to walk the walk and not just be the talk and wear it. And they'll tell you, I tell them all the time, we have to wear the responsibility of being at the University of Texas. You have to wear the responsibility. If you're good enough to beat Stanford, then you're going to wear the responsibility of being that team and practice like it every day, play like it every night. And that's really hard to do with a young, inexperienced, and an immature team for, what have we played now? Toward 35, Danny? 35 games. I mean, you want to talk about one of the challenges of being a coach? Try and getting your team up 35 nights out of the year, sometimes 3 nights a week. To kids, it's something they've been doing all their life, and it's just another game, right? They don't understand these times are fleeting. In the Elite Eight, again, Joe, Audrey, these times you do not, you don't take them for granted. These opportunities, and here we are again, and what are we going to do today to make ourselves ready for tomorrow? And so this is our team, and again, I think early in the year it was certainly a great win for us.
Question on the side.
Roger Wallace, NBC Austin. Vic, to that point, emotional win last night again. I mean, and they're all emotional at this point because you go home if you don't win. But, to reset it again and get kids to think like, all right, that's in the past, and now we got one more chance to get to Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch any film with them last night. We were really tired, and time we got back from scouting the game, and it was late, our body time. 10 o'clock here is midnight back home, and so we let them go to bed, and I actually gave them an extra 30 minutes to sleep in this morning. That's growth on my part, Roger. I look back, and we learn, right? You're never too old to learn. I look back at, in 17, we rolled into the hotel at 1:30 in the morning after beating Connecticut, and man, I had to get them up the next morning. We had to eat breakfast at 9, and we had to be at the gym, and we had to do this and this. And the next year, we didn't even practice the next day, and again, it's growth, I guess, on my part. So this morning we let them sleep in, and they had a good meal, and we watched film and went through our scouting report like we always do, and then today was not much up and down. You know, I want them to get in here and get a good feel for the arena and shoot a lot. And then we went through their stuff, and we went through some of our stuff, but didn't go real hard. I was assured last night that the habits that we've created up until now will continue to show up in games, and that one more day of practicing creating habits wasn't going to be a big deal. So I trusted those telling me that. So growth.
Question in the front here.
Vic, obviously, Joe, Audrey, Lauren gained some valuable experience last year, but how do you think that tournament run and that experience benefited Shay and Deanna, who had to watch it from the sideline?
Well, again, I think the three you mentioned that played, you know, that experience is, you know, you just can't put a value on it. It's immeasurable. And to have players be a part of that run a year ago and to have them back, you know, is really, really unique and really special. And again, that's part of the program, right? It's part of building a program. You gotta stack recruiting classes, and then you gotta stack your success so that each class learns something, and then the next year when they're in that situation, they handle it differently. And so I think those three obviously had a great experience and learned a lot. We need those three to play really well tomorrow. And then Deanna and Shay both, I think, have played a lot this year, and you know, they're mature beyond their years as well. I have to give them a lot of credit. So anytime you get to this stage of the season, there's 8 teams left. I mean, you're doing something right, and you know, you hopefully you can draw on things that you've been in this position before. Again, this is part of building the program. And so hopefully those kids can draw on what happened a year ago and be able to share that with our other kids to get them ready. But again, you know, when you've got a young, inexperienced team like I do, sometimes what you don't know doesn't hurt you. And so I think you have to be careful about creating, you know, the moment. It's still a basketball game. And you know what? I could go out there and pull the hickory measure out and do that and all that and just let them know that the rim's still the same and all that. But at the end of the day, it's still a basketball game, and we just need to go out and beat Texas. That's it. You know, I don't think we have to go play, you know, way out of our head to be successful in this tournament. We just got to beat Texas. If we're Texas, I like our chances.
Question in the far back.
Kevin Pelton, ESPN.com. Watching that matchup in November seemed like, you know, the stereotype is you want a lot of size to match up with Stanford, but you actually had more success when you kind of went smaller with Audrey at the 4. Can your quickness be an advantage against their size?
Well, you know, you hope so. When we go to that lineup, we're certainly wanting to use that to our advantage. And Audrey plays bigger than her size, and obviously she's such a smart defensive player, and at times now, you know, I'm really proud of her growth offensively, and so she can do some things offensively for us as well. So I think, you know, our ability to kind of go small or be big, I think has really been an advantage for this team. And again, I've got some young kids. Amo's coming on. Latasha Lattimore's giving us some really big minutes. So I've got we've got some other kids that have really stepped up for us and been really special depending on what lineup we want to play. So I think you'll see both, you know, tomorrow, and you know, it's kind of game to game sometimes on what's working and what's not, what's more important at the time, offense or defense. And you know, Stanford's so big. You know, even when they're small, when they go to their small lineup, they're still a big lineup, you know. And so I think, you know, we've talked about that lineup, and I think we have an understanding about what to do with each lineup and personnel. But, you know, they're really big, can alter a lot of shots. I don't think they get it from me, but they need to get credit for their defense. They're long, they're athletic. they're 1 through 5. I mean, they're really big, and they can be very disruptive. And I don't know that people talk a lot about that, and they should, because they're well coached on that end, and they do a tremendous job on that and make it hard. I mean, you go down and look at their scores, in ball games. There's not a lot of people getting over 60, and you can count them on one hand how many have scored 70. And so it's just, I think it's a really well-balanced team. Obviously, they have tremendous offensive flow, but defensively, you got to give those kids credit and give coach, because they are really good on that end.
We have time for one last question we'll take in the room here.
Natalie Weiner, New York Times. Kind of going along with what you're saying right now, it seems like points might come at a premium in this game. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to how Aaliyah Matharu might contribute on that end and what she brings to the offense.
Well, I think you all know that's a kid that can really be explosive. I mean, you lose her, she can hurt you in a hurry. And real confident kid, one of the top 2 most confident kids I've ever coached. That's not something she's short on. And, she's really, I have to give her a lot of credit too. She's really grown and come to really accept the importance of her role, which is big on our team. And she had a big game obviously against them there, made some really big shots for us down the stretch in the fourth quarter. But, she's had some really big games for us this year, made some big shots for us yesterday. And so, I think, I've got to try to find ways to get her some looks, because she does bring a lot to the table on that end. And then when she's locked in defensively, she can be, a little bit of a problem too for the other team. So I'm really proud of Aaliyah. I've learned a lot. I've coached her now at Mississippi State and then here at the University of Texas, and I've learned a lot coaching her. And I love the kids so much. I love Miss Brenda, her mama. They're such a special family, and grandma too. And but I've learned a lot coaching her, and I need her to be great. We need her to show up and be a big part of our success, because we're really good. When she's good, we're really good, and she can really change the course of a game at the blink of an eye. And so she's going to need to play well tomorrow night for us, without a doubt. And she could have easily been up here with those other 5 that were up here before me, because she was a starter earlier in the year, and we've been going with this lineup just because it's won a lot of games for us. But she usually ain't over there on the bench too long. And if she is, somebody's usually telling me, hey, Aaliyah. So I'm excited for the opportunity for her as well, and as I am for all our kids. Pardon? Victoria Vivians. It's 2 pretty good ones, and neither one of them. I mean, you got to have kids that are confident, obviously, but those 2 kind of separate themselves. I mean, Victoria never met a shot she didn't like. You know what? Neither has Aaliyah. Aaliyah's, if you've watched her enough, 6'6", no problem, I'm going right at you. Now that's not always the smart thing to do. Most of the time it's not. But she is unfazed, and again, just a really confident kid when it comes to basketball, and just loves the game. I mean, she just loves the game, loves to compete, and again, I've learned a lot coaching her.
Well, Coach Schaefer, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Praise the Lord and hook 'em horns.